Hello, welcome to another episode of History in the Dark. I am your host, Darkness the Curse. And before we begin, as always, thank you so much to my generous patrons, my British rail critics, and of course my underwater train finders. You are the reason why this content remains so much blood. And today, we're gonna discuss an animal, a tiger, a really big kitty that was very, very hungry. This is the story of the Champawat Tiger. Bengal tigers are a population of the Panthera tigris subspecies. They are among the largest cats in the world today, and among the most well-known. Unlike lions, which tend to live in groups, tigers, outside of females and their babies, are mostly solitary. They hunt alone and take down very large prey. They are incredibly powerful predators, and they are indeed under threat due to poaching. Due to their size, tigers are certainly very easily capable of taking down a person. And as humans encroached on tiger territory, those sorts of incidents started happening a lot more, because, well, humans and tigers were crossing paths, and tigers are hungry, okay? They gotta eat something. Might as well be you! It's still considered pretty unusual for a tiger to attack a person. We don't have that much meat on our bones generally, but sometimes a wild animal will actually get a significant taste for human flesh. And that is exactly what happened with the Champawat tiger. She was a female, a tigress, and she's been listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest number of fatalities from a tiger, as well as any known individual animal. She is credited with killing 436 people between Nepal and India. 436 people were killed by one tiger. She was out of control, and she was very deadly. Her hunt began in the last years of the 19th century and into the early 1900s. In a Rupal village in western Nepal, Himalayas, she seized every chance she got to actually kill somebody and eat them. Hunters were sent to deal with this problem, but she was not a stupid animal by any stretch of the imagination. She evaded the hunters, and eventually they actually called in the Nepalese army to deal with the problem, and even they failed, with the soldiers instead organizing a massive beat, or patrol, making a lot of noise, forcing the tiger to abandon her territory and run across the border into India. Suddenly, it wasn't Nepal's problem anymore. Now, it was the Indians' problem, and the tiger resumed her killing spree. Generally, an animal's hunting behavior can be kind of predicted, but in this tigress's case, that didn't happen. See, she adjusted her own strategies so as best to hunt and evade humans. She traveled great distances between villages in a single day, under the cover of night. Normally, a Bengal tiger's range would be fairly small in terms of hunting, but this one expanded that, making it much more difficult to track her, and making it easier for her to surprise people who didn't always know she was out in the jungle waiting for prey. Her behavior in terms of forming a larger territory that encompassed multiple villages was actually a lot closer to a Siberian tiger. And like many predators, she would tend to go for prey that was, well, easier. Most of her victims were young women and children, who would often be sent into the forest to collect firewood, feed livestock, or gather resources for crafting. During this time, the tiger would sneak up on them, and they would, well, disappear. They would never be heard from again. And even though she tended to move under the cover of night, whenever she was hunting, it was in broad daylight. Every single one of her confirmed kills happened when the sun was up, which was actually a lot more alarming, because, well, humans were up during the day, and they needed to get work done, and suddenly everyone was too scared to go out in the jungle anymore, because there's a tiger out there specifically eating people. The men often refused to leave their huts for work after hearing her roars from the forest. And you know, who can blame them? And the Tigresses, sometimes called the Demon of Champawat, reign of terror would continue until 1907, when a man by the name of Jim Corbett was called in to try to deal with the problem. Colonel Edward James Corbett was Indian-born, though he was British, and he was a hunter, tracker, naturalist, and author. The demon had recently killed a 16-year-old girl named Premka Devi in the village of Fungar, which was also near the town of Champawat, and this time she left a trail of blood, which Corbett followed. While investigating the remains of the girl, Corbett himself was nearly ambushed by the tiger, though he survived the encounter by scaring her off with 2 shots from his rifle. Corbett realized he was dealing with a very smart animal, and he opted at least that day to abandon the hunt and decided to use the villagers to organize a beat in the Champa River Gorge. 300 villagers assisted with this just the following day, around noontime. The beat worked. It flushed the tiger out. His first shots hit her in the chest and shoulder, and his last shot hit her in the foot, causing her to collapse just 6 meters away from him. The Demon of Champawat was dead. But why had this animal gone out of her way to kill, well, people? It's one thing for a tiger to attack 1 or 2 people and move on. Such incidents aren't unheard of, but this tiger made it a point to hunt humans, and only humans, extensively, and a lot of humans. So what was the deal? In a post-mortem analysis of her remains, it was discovered that her upper and lower canine teeth on the right side of her mouth were actually broken. The upper one in half, and the lower one right down to the bone. That injury was the result of an old gunshot, before Corbett took her down, and it would have caused her severe pain and made it much more difficult to hunt her normal prey. She wouldn't have been able to take down larger animals that tigers generally do, so she had to adapt. And in her case, she started to hunt humans. Humans are smaller than a tiger's normal prey, but they are soft and squishy. Much easier to chew and to kill. And outside of her tooth injury, she was actually in very healthy condition prior to her death. Corbett thought she was between 10 and 12 years old. The Demon of Champawat has since gone down in history. Like I said, she has a world record for being an animal and killing just so many people. These days, in Champawat, near the Chatar Bridge to Lohognot, there's actually a cement board that marked the place where the demon was finally brought down. Corbett also talked about the incident himself in his 1944 book, Man-Eaters of Kumaon. And with that, a special thank you to all my underwater train finders, Somedude267, Orange Glass, Benjamin Owens, Panzer Kitchen 131-232, Josh Johnson, Metal for Life Guy, Anzac A1, Arthur Roy, Tommy Rossini, Lord Captain Von Thrust III, Joshua Long, Brian, Jack Carson's Roar Videos, Hayden DeGrow, Master of None, Dr. Racer 78, Lord Hoth 444, Alaric Jaspers, The Baxter, That Guy with a Beard, Mark Holding, Lock Kraken, Crystal Morgan, A Person 723, DM Tribal Typhoon, Ohio Trucker 1, Hendrick Motorsports Fan 5, Alfonso Lapucci, and Royal Hudson 2860. Till next time, this is Darkness, and a bid you all a fond farewell.